Welcome to Seltzer Squad, the podcast about staying sober in the city, with your hosts, Kate Zander and Jess Valentine.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jess.
What's up?
You tell me.
Okay, I want to talk about non-alcoholic beer and wine and behaviors and patterns and stuff revolving that. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
All right.
Tell me more.
I posted an image on Instagram of me holding a non-alcoholic red wine. And I asked everyone's opinions on it and if they had non-alcoholic wine or beer that they recommended. I did a story just because I was curious. It's not something that I ever really delved into. I've never been a big wine or beer drinker. That's probably why I've always been more of like a mocktail girl because I always like sweet cocktails. And we got a lot of very mixed opinions, very strong opinions. And I just kind of wanted to discuss that because that's something that definitely comes up in sobriety. Like I said, I've never been a big non-alcoholic, like imitation. You know, that was a lot of people's like, why are you going to pretend that you're drinking? However, there's a lot of people that these things are tools that help them stay sober. My fiance, absolutely non-alcoholic wine and beers in her sobriety toolbox.
Yeah.
It helps her stay sober and maybe curb the craving. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, for like a hot second, I got a little nervous because I was like, is this a slippery slope? Does this mean that she's going to want to start drinking again? And then if she does, like, how is our relationship? You know, all that stupid shit that goes along with it, you know, and I talked to Jody about it and people take things to different levels. You know, there are some people that will drink this stuff as they would alcohol and not change the behaviors or patterns, and they're not dealing with the reason why they drink in the first place. They're just substituting it with a non-alcoholic version of alcohol.
They're just not drinking.
Yes.
They're not really, I guess they're quote unquote sober, but they're not really, they're not recovering. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You're still like not dealing with it. And then you have some people that's like, oh, like once in a while, I like to go to a party and bring a bottle of wine. I'm going to bring a non-alcoholic bottle of wine. And there's just so many different levels, you know? And I think that that's something that we should really look at. Like, for example, I've started drinking non-alcoholic beer every now and then.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I've never been a big beer drinker, but sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to have a beer, especially if you're like with people that are having beers. You brought some non-alcoholic beer to my party. And I personally don't have a problem with that at all. Some people have very strong opinions on it. They are entitled to those.
Yeah.
But then there are others that it really helps. And then there's other people that they're still not actually, not that they're not doing the work, but they're not dealing with the underlying issue of why they're drinking. Now, I don't know if this is called like dry drinking or like if they're a dry drunk.
Right.
But I think it's something that we should like talk about.
Yes. So I want to get into dry drunk in a minute, but to just kind of elaborate on the NA scene, right? Because they were in the middle of like cocktail companies are coming out with like spirits that don't have alcohol in them. And so it's like a new dawn of weirdness. And I think, again, like we've always kind of defaulted on like whatever your sobriety toolkit looks like and it's working for you, that's great. And I think that for me, that still falls. I don't personally come home and need a glass of non-alcoholic wine. I don't, and it's again to me like a routine. And I just don't have that routine anymore. I used to come home and drink red wine after work. It took me a long time to break that habit of just coming home and like defaulting to that. I never wanted to spend like $30 or whatever on the non-alcoholic wine. I didn't really see the point. It was like, if this isn't getting me drunk, I don't know why I'm spending the money on it.
Sure.
But I do also relate in those social situations where, like when I came to your party, I was actually going to find the Bud Light for TJ because he was Post Malone. That's why I was in the liquor store.
Oh, that's funny.
So it was like, and it was so weird because I was like, I hadn't been in the liquor store in so long, but I was like looking for this Bud Light for him and I saw the non-alcoholic beer and I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll treat myself to that tonight. And it was kind of just that. Like, it wasn't really like, there was no thought behind it, but it was just like, oh, I haven't done this in a while. Like, that's nice. I don't keep them in the house. I don't keep them around, but I definitely in early sobriety did drink non-alcoholic red wine in social situations. And I think it was also just because people left me alone. If I had a wine glass and it looked like there was wine in there, no one talked to me about drinking or the fact that I wasn't drinking, or I didn't have to look like I was standing out. So I think sometimes in the early bits, I used to go out for like work happy hours and stuff. I would actually drink like 8 non-alcoholic beers, you know, but it was just like no one bugged me about it because they saw a beer bottle and they never put 2 and 2 together. So
sure,
I'm kind of still on the fence of like whatever works for you. But I do agree that like some people who quit drinking don't do the recovery part. They just have quit drinking. And I can speak from personal experience. Prior to my relapse, I spent an entire year of being a dry drunk. And just to kind of clarify a little bit, I did look it up because I've heard of dry drunk. I think it's in the AA community, but it's a syndrome. And it is used to describe a person who has stayed away from alcohol for some time but continues to behave as if he or she is addicted. A person who has dry drunk syndrome hasn't made any behavioral or emotional changes or has started to regress to old ways of thinking. So it's kind of like you haven't really dealt with the feelings. You've just been like doing it in other ways. And on my side of the family, there's alcoholism, at least on my dad's side. And I think I have seen now some things in myself and in that space before I had relapsed that I was so tightly wound, and it was a control thing and it was an OCD thing that if I could control all of the things, then none of my feelings would come out. And I was essentially numb and really, really lonely. And I still romanticized my old life. I didn't do anything to like try to implement any toolkits or anything like that. I just was like, you're just not drinking and you don't need anything else and everything is fine and everything is okay.
Yeah.
And you're cured. So I think for me, relapsing pretty hardcore and then going actually through recovery with building like a proper toolkit, with doing AA, with doing therapy, all of the things and processing, like it's just really dealing with the coping mechanisms, right? Like I think that's what the NA beers and all of that stuff is like still a default coping mechanism, right? Like if I can't drink with everyone, at least I can drink this non-alcoholic beer and fit in, and you don't have to then cope with like the otherness of the situation, which is kind of depends where you're at, right?
I feel like it's such a gray area for me, especially since I never really was a beer drinker or a wine drinker.
Right.
Honestly, I'll have like half and then I'm like, I don't even want this anymore. I also like it's filling and, you know, I don't need the extra calories.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's just that like, oh yeah, like this, like let me have this. But the thing is, I do have to say, I'm really glad that so many companies are coming out with non-alcoholic versions of their stuff. Like I think that that's really great. And, you know, there's all these non-alcoholic spirits now, which a lot of the cocktails that I was having, I was drinking to get drunk, but I also drink because I really enjoyed the taste of them. So like Seed Lip and
you still do mocktails.
Yeah, I still do mocktails. Not like I don't make them at home. It's for when I go out. So I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a lot of gray area. I'm really grateful. And I think that these things should exist.
Same.
Like people that will drink alcohol, I've seen them be like, oh, I'll have a glass of that. Or I'll have like a baked beer or whatever. And that's kind of cool.
I think we're in a new place where it's more socially acceptable for you to be drinking like a non-alcoholic beer to be drinking like a seltzer.
Yeah.
It's like a baby step, right?
Exactly.
Like,
and there's also like people who have issues with kombucha.
Oh, yes.
And so that's
I was
going to
ask. I'm like, it's like, where do you draw the line then? It's like fucking mouthwash has alcohol in it.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
I feel like personally for me, I'm still kind of navigating my feelings on all of it. I don't care about kombucha, however you pronounce it at all. I don't drink because I don't like it. But how much alcohol is in it? I don't even know. Like
I think it depends. There's like they sell hard kombuchas.
Okay.
So where they let them ferment for longer and they're more alcoholic. I've had friends who stopped drinking kombucha because there are trace amounts of alcohol, and it's like they're against that. And then also like we've talked to Tani before, you know, and non-alcoholic beer was like a staple in her early recovery because she was still going to the bar.
Yep.
So again, I think it's like whatever works.
Yeah, I think whatever works. I think as long as you're dealing with why you drink, you know, to self-medicate, I think that you're on the right path. I don't think that we should be judging each other in general for how people choose to stay sober. I think that's really weird because at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. We're all on the same island, you know, we're all trying to get to the same
hard
place.
Enough.
Yeah, that like we don't need to be like putting each other down or telling each other that they're wrong when we're all trying to do the right thing. But yeah, I just wanted to like talk
I think
about
the dry
that
drinking of the non-alcoholic beverages is all good unless the person is doing something that's avoiding the actual recovering part of recovery, right?
Yeah. I think there's a difference between being a dry drunk and sometimes having, like you said, a beer or wine.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic, obviously. But yeah, we had a lot. It was just interesting to see how strongly people feel about it. You and me are more of that like alternative sober people where we're just like, yeah, you can still smoke pot, or yeah, you can do this or whatever.
Which is also controversial. Yeah.
Yes, but that's what we are.
Did you read that Cali Sober article online?
Oh,
where it's like Cali Sober is that you don't drink alcohol but you smoke weed. And
I heard about that.
I didn't read the whole article, but
no, I read like the beginning, and it's like, okay, whatever. Like I don't care. It's not for me, but I also don't judge people for it because I just don't see the point in putting other people down to make ourselves feel better or tell someone that they're doing something wrong. I don't think there's only one way. And that's just my feelings on it.
Yeah. As long as I'm not drinking alcohol and peeing my bed and blacking out, like it was a good day.
Exactly. Seriously.
Non-alcoholic beer or not. And I know this episode is actually coming out around Thanksgiving. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit because I know the holidays, we're heading into like trigger central with the holidays. And we get this question all the time about armoring up. I think we did an okay job last year of like covering sober toolkit items around the holiday and talked about, you know, some things that we were, you know, potentially nervous about. But I think if you're feeling vulnerable, take the NA beer to your Thanksgiving party, you know, like do yourself a favor if you're not really ready to come out to your family and use it as a crutch. Use it. I mean, I think that that's what it's there for, right? Like to enjoy / be kind of a substitute for alcohol. I mean, or else why would they make it and market it that way? Otherwise, it would just be like juice and soda.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want that.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I don't like the holiday, but whatever. I don't need to get into my politics with it. I'm leaving. I'm going away. I like to travel on Thanksgiving because the airports are empty.
Yeah.
It's the day before and after that they're like packed. So I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be going to Hawaii. So I won't.
You'll be shopping on your phone at this time when it has aired in real life. And I actually have my nieces coming and my sister. Yeah. And we're doing all the Christmas stuff in New York.
I
like
love
all the windows and things. So yeah, I'm not really that big on Thanksgiving either.
I also like, I've mentioned in the past, I've never been a big drinker around my family. So personally, it's just not a issue for me. Like Thanksgiving doesn't mean anything. Obviously, Christmas is different, but I think because I'm an alcoholic, I always tried to keep it away from my mom and stuff because I didn't want them to like know how bad I was. So yeah, I don't know. I'm okay
happy
with it.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I want to hear about all your journeys and how does everybody feel about non-alcoholic versus regular beverages, I guess. I want to hear what they think because it is very polarizing and there is I don't think there's a right answer.
I don't think there is either. I don't. I just obviously don't.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I drink it.
Just got to stay sober.
That's sober.
Just don't drink. It's really hard and it's really easy at the same time. That's what I tell a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just don't drink.
I think that's fair. Well, thank you.
I'm
thankful for you.
I'm thankful
for the squad. And until we meet again, be nice to yourself.
And don't forget, hangovers suck.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Seltzer Squad is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Kate Sander. For show notes and resources, check out seltzersquad.com.